Well then, welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Friday, June 11th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. And today, we're going to sit back and talk a bit with Richie Plass of the Menominee Nation, who just completed a 75-mile plus trek from Lake Poygan, Wisconsin to the Menominee Reservation, a path that some of his ancestors took 150 years ago. And he's going to explain a little bit about why they made that trip. The full 32-minute interview will be found soon at IndianCountryTV in the featured digital player. So let's go right over to Richie Plass.
Okay.
Richie, you were telling us that there was a removal order just before winter for the Menominee to leave that Lake Poygan area in Wisconsin.
Right, because again, the treaty and the signing happened in the spring, so the people thought it was going to happen spring or summer, but nobody said anything from the government. So it was in dead middle of winter in November. It was right after the first hard freeze, and they said you have to leave. So again, there was between 23 and 2,400 Menominee men, women, and children. And the main mode of transportation then was the river. But the river chewed up their birch bark canoes, and then they made them walk, and some went up the river as far as they could. I don't know, and I haven't found any research how long that journey took. But when Chief Paul got him here on the reservation, and in his dreams and in his ceremony, he was told of a stronghold to take the people. Well, that location today is called Oreilles Falls. But when our historical department and even the members of Big Drum, they came down many years ago and honored that location, and it's called Poikanay Falls. So that's where it wound up. Now, it's also documented that only 1,600 survived that move. So we lost real close to 800 Menominee along the way.
Give us an idea, Richie, of the mileage from the lake up to the current site and where that falls was that they stopped at.
Okay, well, Oreilles Falls is located right north of Kashina, about 4 miles along Highway 55. So the route that we took on the highways measured 76 miles. But rough estimate, because the river winds so much from the reservation down there, they probably went real close to 100, in excess of 100 miles, again because of the windiness of the river. But our walk was 76 miles.
How many days did that take you? You started last week and...
Right, we started on Wednesday, June the 2nd, and we completed it on Sunday, June the 6th. We averaged 18 miles a day, and then we camped along the way. Now again, what happened was, from my perspective, when I found that historical marker on the south shores of Lake Poygan, I read it, and then I stood there looking at the lake, and I just went, I'm going to do that walk. Because, and I told people, the two main goals of the walk, the first one was responsibility. Because again, I carry that gentleman's name. And as I've been taught, and that's how I look at it, when you carry on those names, you find out about the people, if there was someone named that, the history of that name or that person. Well, Chief Poikanay was actually the leader of our warrior society. He led our warriors into battles, both among other native people, but also in wars for the government. He was actually he was given a peace medal from the president But again, he was also a spiritual person. Some people say he was medicine man. So when I decided to do that, I honestly thought it might be me and 3 or 4 other people that might be interested. So I started planning the walk in 2009, and there is no significance of the date. It just turned out that when I was standing on that shore and I got in my car to note it that, I'm going to do it a year from now, and I looked at the calendar, it was June 1st. So there's really no historical or whatever kind of significance to what we did as far as the date. But the real significance that I really looked at, because that's the second element, and that's education. Because again, I didn't even know about that removal and that walk until a couple of years ago. But I really thought, hopefully I can help educate other Menominee, but I can educate other nations in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is east of the Mississippi, and you look historically how many nations were moved, physically moved or removed by the government. I just felt it was a story that had to be told, but the education went the other way too. And my plan was this, is that maybe along the way we can hear stories from the non-Indian people about not only that move, but about the Menominee and other nations. And that come out to be true. I've got some documents from various historical groups in different towns, old writings from the 1800s and early 1900s. Their verbiage is so great because, again, how they wrote back then, and that's all part of it. And so all of that planning and all of them goals that I set, which were really none, because I didn't know what to expect. And as I've told people all the while, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just said, we're going to do it. So I was asked by a reporter just this week, well, what was the biggest accomplishment of the walk? And I started laughing and I said, that it happened. That was the biggest accomplishment, because we had no idea. And again, there were some people in the media saying, well, you didn't have that many people with you, and you didn't have this, you didn't have that. And I went, but that's not why I did it. I didn't do it for a media event. I did it in honor of our ancestors. I did it in honor of our youth that are here. And actually at closing ceremony, a couple of people at closing ceremony made the following statement. And this is very hard for me even to repeat, but they said, Richie, with what you did and what went on here, you are now going to be part of Menominee history from here on out. That's overwhelming for me. I didn't start it. This wasn't for me. It wasn't an ego thing, but, and I'm going to jump around a bit, but for instance, at closing ceremony, and we're starting to work on next year, there are some young Menominee that want to run it next year. So, that's cool. And then there's some other people down the road actually want to put canoes in the river and canoe it. So that's great. That's some of the best things that could have happened out of that.
We wish them good luck at beating you back to the res.
Exactly. And actually, Paul, there's a couple. Again, it was filmed. The documentary will be done probably by August. A friend of mine and his wife came here on their own from Pennsylvania. They did over 16 hours of film. So, we're going to have that available. But there were so many side stories and off stories and additional stories that are just great. And if you don't mind, I'll share a couple of them with you because I think they should be shared.
Well, you just fundamentally, the biggest success is just doing it and get it done.
Exactly.
And join us on Monday, and that should be June 14th, and we should be getting our first report in about a month from Lori Townsend, the news director from Alaskan Public Radio Network, directly from Anchorage, Alaska. And that is today's roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I want to thank you all for joining with us. You have a good weekend. Miigwech.